Oops, hang on. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Cade. How are you?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
I can. I can hear you fine. I don't see your video yet.
Let's see here.
There should be a little
There we
video.
go. I had the cap on it. I said that'll work. Let's see.
Okay.
There we go.
There you are.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Now, where are
Happy
you in the
Tuesday.
world, Joseph? What part of the country?
Tampa, Florida.
Beautiful Tampa.
I'm telling you, man. We're loving it.
I
Beach
bet you guys
days
are having some good
already.
weather. We're
Yeah.
raining and cold this morning in Atlanta.
Yeah. Some of my other clients, they're snowstorms right now. Just like, wow. I do not miss it. Do
Yes.
not. So
You've
yeah.
always been in Tampa. Where'd you come there from?
Born and raised on Long Island, so
Mm-hmm.
New York, and then lived in Los Angeles for a few years, San Diego for 5 years, Scottsdale, Arizona for 5 years. So a lot of warm climates. I like warm.
Yeah,
Brings
I
out
do
the
too.
best of me. Yeah.
Can't beat it. We're getting ready to go to Jamaica here in a few weeks, and I am
Oh,
so
good.
excited. We've
Yeah.
like everybody been trapped in the house with a 2 and 5-year-old, so we're gonna do an adults only trip.
That is wonderful. We had a family trip of 19 of us to Puerto Vallarta planned for end of February, and we had to cancel because of all the restrictions of getting back into the country.
Uh-huh.
And the chances of something going wrong with 19 people and someone getting left behind was just too high of a risk.
Oh
And
yeah.
so we had to cancel the whole thing, which was not fun. We were so looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just ready to things to start getting back to normal. A
Right.
lot of folks around here have been vaccinated, and the restaurants are starting to fill up again, which is great for the local economy, and
Good.
it's a different feel now than it has been the past few months. I'm excited to get commerce as usual again.
Yeah, I agree with you. So how do you know our friend Tommy Breedlove?
I have known Tommy for over 20 years. We,
Okay.
as fate would have it, we were seated next to each other at a football game 20 something years ago, and had
Hmm.
season tickets next to each other. And so I got to experience the Tommy before the transformation, which his whole book
Ooh.
is about. So I knew him I call him Angry Tommy. He was very angry about a lot of things, but was a part of that journey and have been friends with he and Heather and just love them to death and spend a great deal of time with both of them and just outstanding people. Um, the book is, just such a labor of love, and I'm so proud of him for doing that, for putting those thoughts out there. He gave up an extremely lucrative career to go and coach and to speak, and took it on the chin for years building the thing. He's doing great with it now, but
Sure.
just the respect. I mean, he really put his money where his mouth is, and a lot of folks will tell you they want to do stuff, and then they're dipped their toe in the water. Well, Tommy jumped right in the ocean. So, but I can't say enough. He's one of my best friends in the world, and he's just such a blessing to everybody he's involved with.
Wow. We should have recorded that for a testimonial for him, huh?
Yeah, I did do a quote for the book, so people, will see that. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
he's a real winner in a lot of sense of the word. He's one of these guys that just gives and gives and gives, and but it's coming back to him tenfold from what he's doing now. So it's
I
exciting
think
to
I
see.
would have liked to have seen the before version,
Yeah.
the angry version, as you said.
Ooh, he was
Uh,
first of all, he weighed probably 50 or 75 pounds more than he does now. So he was a big, intimidating guy, and he would just stare right through you when he talked to you. But like, I have never in my whole life seen someone undergo a transformation like he has. I mean, without, other means. I mean, he's done it internally. He's realized he had a problem. He's reflected, he's meditated. But if you, I don't even like recognize him, like even physically, he looks different. And, but it's such a it's a testimonial to what you can do if you put your mind to make positive changes in your life. It really
wh-
is.
what would you say was the number one thing that had the most impact in that transformation?
I think
Do you,
making the decision to actually make the change, that he wanted to go out and do something positive, that he wanted to go out and affect change. It starts with you. I mean, it's like anything else. If you want to diet and lose weight, quit smoking, you have to make that decision. Until you make that actual decision, it's not going to happen, right? So you have to
yeah,
commit to it. I have one of the things I admire so much about Tommy is he committed, man. He burned the boats, man. I mean, like there was no going back. Like he cashed the 401k, like he did everything. There's no safety net. If it didn't work, I mean, he was going to be in trouble. And thankfully it did work. And, you know, it was sort of one of the things with my own business when I was young and I started my company. Maybe it was that I was naive and didn't know a whole lot better. But I did the same. I just, you know, had a trust in my own self and my gut. And, you know, Tommy trusts his own judgment, and he's got a core group of people around him that he, you know, is a sounding board. He calls it his inner circle. And I do the same thing. I mean, I think if you've got 4 to 5 really good friends, and my rule is when a majority of them tell me something's a good idea, it's probably a good idea. And when a majority of them tell me it's a bad idea, it's probably a bad idea. So I think he lives that. And it's, like I said, just super inspiring to see it.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. All right, let's get into the show here, your show. Just to represent you to what this show is all about, your first 100K, top 100 podcast in entrepreneurship. And I bring on successful entrepreneurs like yourself to talk about how'd you make your first $100,000? Because that's where I believe 90% of entrepreneurs get stuck or stopped or they quit, they give up. And typically I've seen it's year 1, 2, or 3. And it's the mental game of entrepreneurship. It's all that negative self-talk happening between their ears.
Right.
So I really wanted to get into that conversation with you. Sure. So going back in time, you know, when you started ShredX and what that was like for you and making that, I call it a definitive decision, right? All in, burn the ship. So we could talk about that.
Yep.
What that takes to get there. Right?
Yeah, I've got even further than that. I can tell you my first real $100,000 was delivering newspapers back when I was 9 and 10 years old. I signed up a bunch of, I got a bunch of routes. Hold
the story.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get into it. And you and I are standing for God transforming the life of one listener somewhere on planet Earth through our conversation today.
Awesome. Love
the
that.
way the way that can happen and will happen is by you showing up just real, raw, vulnerable, transparent. Don't hold anything back. Don't try to look good. Just be you.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds easy, but sometimes as men we're conditioned, you know, don't be transparent. Don't act like you don't have it all figured out or put together, or don't share your struggles or challenges. And on this show, my guests, they open up and share stuff they've never shared before anywhere publicly, that's the conversation we're having, because that allows my listener to connect with you in a very deep, meaningful way. And they go, wow, this guy, Cade, man, super successful guy. He struggles with the same thing I struggle with. Well, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's what we're standing for. That person taking that action in their life. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you on board with that?
Some great. Yeah, absolutely. My entire reason I did the business was spiritually led.
Really?
Yes. I'd love to tell that story.
So you're just so you know, this isn't a faith-based show, but it's not a we don't leave faith out of the conversation. Right. Okay. So some of my guests come on, the Christians, and they talk about God in their business and how they needed to bring those two things together. So if that's your conversation, go there. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's such a big part of who I am. You know, it's impossible to leave out, but I would not be where I am today without, you know, following what I saw as a sign. I'll tell the whole story, but
for sure. Awesome. All right. Quick housekeeping. To clarify, you grant me, Joseph Warren, unlimited worldwide distribution rights to this recording, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. We're going to put about 30 minutes on the clock. That will be our target we're going for.
Okay.
And do you have any questions or comments for me before we get into your story?
Ready to rock and roll.
All right, brother. Sounds good. I like your energy.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, here we go. I'm going to do a short version of your bio, and then I'll give you about 60 seconds just to fill in the gaps, okay? And then we'll promote anything you're up to at the end of the show. I'll create that space, so save that for the end, okay?
Okay, great.
All right, here we go. In 3. By the way, the website now is jkjoynerholdings.com. Is that correct?
And that goes to my LinkedIn page.
I saw that.
One of the companies that I probably would promote is brookwellcapital.com. It's just BROOKWELL capital.com. And I can talk a little bit about that. That's a project I'm involved with one of my mentors where we help small business owners with capital needs.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Good. I think I'll just mention that one then.
Yeah.
That'll be good. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Before we get into it, is there anything you could do with that window to your left?
We close them.
Yeah, the one on top as well.
A little better.
A little better. And do you have any light that could show on your face?
I don't have not really.
That's fine then. That's better though. You were in a shadow because you had the light
Close this
behind
one a
you.
little better.
Yeah, that's better. Okay,
Okay.
good. I gotta make sure you look your best, bro.
Yeah, that's right. Important.
Okay, here we go. Today, my featured guest is Cade Joyner. Now, Cade, as a proud Georgia native, the highlight of his career has been founding, growing, and advising more than a dozen different businesses in his home state. 1 year after earning a BBA in marketing from the University of Georgia in 2001, Cade Joyner founded Shredex Secure Document Destruction, which is now the largest independent shredding company in the Southeast. I've seen it here in Tampa, Florida. He's built a Goliath of a company here. He is also a strategic partner at Brookwell Capital, raising private capital for businesses across the country, and sits on the board of several startups around the state. Cade resides in Brookhaven with his wife, Katie, and 2 sons, Cade Jr. and Walker. Now, you can find Cade Joyner at brookwellcapital.com. That's brookwellcapital.com. Cade Joyner, welcome to your first 100K podcast, top 100 podcast on iTunes in entrepreneurship. Go ahead and just take about 60 seconds, fill in the gaps in that intro, would you?
Well, thank you, Joseph, first of all, for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you and your listeners today. Well, I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've got the most wonderful wife and 2 young boys you could ever ask for. I started my first business right out of college. I was 22 years old, and we're talking about in the pre-interview. I don't know if it was just me being naive about how easy it was to start a business or what, but I took the plunge very early and created a great business. And part of that along the way has been meeting wonderful people and getting them involved. As I've grown the business, I've been able to step away from it and get involved with other things from a charitable standpoint. I serve on, several boards here in Georgia. I'm on the University System of Georgia Board of Regents, as I serve as vice chair, which is over the entire 26 public institutions in the state of Georgia. I'm involved with the National Federation of Independent Businesses here in Georgia. I chair that. We've got 8,000 member businesses in all 159 counties. And spend a lot of time with my family. I've been able to sort of have a lifestyle by design, which is, getting the kids up every day, taking them to school, playing with them in the afternoon. And I love it. I've just got a wonderful life. I'm truly blessed.
Amen to that. Go ahead, take a minute, share something personal about you that very few people in your business life actually know.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll take you back to the very beginning of the business and share a story with you about my faith and how that's, helped grow the business. Uh, First of all, I graduated from college in 2000, right after the 2000 elections, and had an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. Right after George W. Bush was elected to the White House. It was my dream job. I had always wanted to go into politics and had a grandfather that served in the Georgia General Assembly. And when the opportunity came up, I loaded up my Honda Civic and I went straight to Washington, D.C. I thought I had the biggest opportunity on the planet. And it's funny in life when you ask for something that you realize you don't want it later. And that's sort of what happened with me. I was up there living a great life, but I was not a happy person and was traveling a lot. I'm a guy that was raised in the sunshine of Georgia. I love the warm weather and college football and sweet tea. And I couldn't get a whole lot of any of that up in Washington, D.C. So I remember one morning it was, well, I'll take you back a little further even. I used to go to Annapolis, Maryland and read, on the weekends. It was a huge Barnes and Noble back then. And I would go and read. And I came up with a book one afternoon. It was a summary from Entrepreneur Magazine for the previous year. And there was a highlight in there with a guy named Greg Brophy, who started a company called Shred It International in Ontario. So I saw this and I said, this is an amazing idea. So I got a napkin out of the cafe and I had a pen and I started scrolling out notes. I didn't buy the book. I just scrolled out notes and I took that napkin back to my apartment and I typed up a little business plan and to create a shredding company in Atlanta. And I put it in my desk drawer and kind of forgot about it, Joseph, to be quite honest with you. And, one morning I had just had a particularly bad couple of days prior and it was freezing cold. I'm shivering on the metro, riding into work on the train. And I just said a prayer. I said, Lord, I need you to give me some guidance. I need you to give me a sign on what to do with the rest of my life. So I'm saying this, and I'm riding the huge escalator to the top of Capital South Metro stop in Washington. And guess what was sitting at the top of the metro, at the escalator, Joseph? You'll never believe this.
I'm
It
gonna
was one of
guess
Greg
a
Brothy's shredding.
shredding machine or
Yes,
something.
it was one of Greg Brothy's shredding trucks.
No
And I
way.
said, "Wow, Lord, I mean, I asked for a sign, and yeah, there it is." And I'm a stubborn guy, and obviously, I think the Lord knows that about me. So sometimes He has to buy billboards, and He bought a really big one that day to point me in that direction. So I remember very clearly. I walked back to my office and took off my overcoat, and I called my dad, and I said, "Dad, I'm coming back to Georgia." And I'm gonna start a shredding company. He said, "What in the heck is a shredding company?" And I so explained it to him, and he said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He said, "You're living your dream. You're up in D.C. You're going to the White House. You're going to the RNC for meetings. You're doing all these things you've always wanted to do." And I said, "God, I've never been more certain of anything in my life." And I came home, bought a house, and started a business. Within a few months of that, and have never looked back.
Okay, so let me jump in right there. Here's what I'm hearing you say. And Startup Nation, like listen closely because I think you can connect with Cade. What do you do next when your dream job has become your nightmare? Right? And sometimes we find ourselves in that position, don't we?
Yeah,
We chase the dream and we realize this isn't what I want to do. It was the illusion of grandeur. It didn't, once I got into it, it doesn't look like what I imagined.
right.
Now I want out. Like, what's that next step? So Cade, he took his faith seriously and he sent a prayer up and asked for a sign. And there it was at the top of an escalator. So if you find yourself in your own career right now, some of you are still working jobs and 9 to 5s, and maybe you started out and you thought it was the dream job, and now you're looking at it and you're like, this is terrible. Like it's sucking the life out of me. I feel miserable. So, Kate, here's my question to you: is why did you not plan your exit slowly? Because it sounds financially irresponsible just to drop everything and call dad and say, that's it, I'm out, I'm moving back. And then
Yeah.
just buy a home, which is even more financially irresponsible decision when you just, liquidated your income source. What made you decide to do that and think that was actually a good idea?
It wasn't that I absolutely hated it. I like some of the people I work with. It just wasn't home, and I'm one of these guys that has to feel at home to be productive, and that was one of the main decisions I made. I just could see myself long term there and not being happy, and it just to me looked like the right decision. And maybe it was because I was 22, 23, and didn't have a whole lot of life experience. I had a little savings in the bank, which I put into the business, and I was willing to move home. I was willing to take a risk. And I remember talking to mentors, and mentors have always been a big theme in my life, of people who have, 20, 15, 10 years ahead of me. And I remember they all kind of said the same thing. And they said, "You're young, and if you fail, you can always start over again." And so I just pulled the Band-Aid off, and I said, worst case scenario, I'll go get a job somewhere else. I'm a newly minted college graduate. I'll do something different, but I don't want to wake up one day when I'm retired and say, man, I should have taken that chance. I would have rather know and fail than to never, even try in the first place.
Got it. So you move back home to Georgia, you buy a house, right? Which takes a lot of investment right there. So I'm guessing you had no savings left at this point. Is that correct? Or did you still
Very
have some money?
little, very, very little. It was, and I did live with my parents for a little while just to get started and get the
Okay.
business going. And the
So
first,
take us through year one. How did you get
yeah,
it up and running? How did you bring this new concept, which sounded like a foreign concept of shredding, a shredding company, to Georgia, where nobody knows what the heck is shredding? Why do I need shredding?
right.
Like, how did you introduce that? Because I did that with the co-working business model, co-working
Hmm.
spaces here in Tampa, Florida, and I
Hmm.
remember people looked at me like I had 16 heads when I spoke about co-working, and they
Right.
had no idea what it was. So how did you introduce it? How did you market it to your local community? How did you get the word out and hit your first $100,000 in revenue?
It was a lot of hard work. I'm not gonna shortchange that in the least bit. It was a lot of shoe leather and a lot of doors that got slammed in my face. I can remember the first 90 days were the hardest of anything, probably the hardest 90 days of my life. I can remember I was in my childhood bedroom, one night, and I had a particular bad day. I remember I drove down to Thomaston, Georgia, and knocked on doors all day and got 50 no's. And I was in my childhood bedroom and flipping around the TV and came across local cable access channel, Eagles Way Church in Griffin, Georgia. And there was a pastor on there named Vernon Goss. And he said, he had a message that day about time being an important piece of the success equation. And I thought to myself, and he further went on to say, effort does not always get you there, but time and effort can equal success. And man, that hit me right in the heart. It was what I needed to hear. And I remember that just reinvigorated me. And, it was a lot of education. Like you said, people didn't understand shredding. They were throwing stuff in the dumpsters. They didn't understand, this is 20 years ago. Now it's, front of mind for a lot of business executives. But back then people would dump it, or they'd burn it in the trash can, or they would, they had other ways to get rid of this stuff. So there was an education process that was going, around and teaching people about it. But, and it was persistence, man. I mean, like, I can't tell you, in life and in business and everything, you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get hit in the mouth. It's going to happen. It just prepare for it and get up when you do. And that's a lesson that I learned countless times. I mean, like I said, I gave up that secure job. I gave up that secure paycheck, but I was willing to work hard, and I was willing to sacrifice to get there. And we just kept building and building and building. And it just kept getting a little bit better every day. And that's how I, govern my own life. I look to ways to constantly improve, just to get a slightly better every single day, whether it's from communication or whether it's, from reading a different book or different things. But, we were able to build on it, and then we were able to put together an amazing team. One of the tremendous blessings of this whole thing has been able to get to work with my dad. He was coming out of the textile industry, which is in the southeastern United States. A lot of those jobs have left about that same very time. And being able to have him there, and he's of course a mentor to me as well during that process. And then later we brought in my uncle to help run the operations of the business, and that has been such a tremendous blessing. I mean, to me, that has probably been the primary thing, is being able to work with them, and also the people that are our employees are like our family members. We have virtually no turnover because we treat people the way we want to be treated. And I've been in most of their homes, that know their family, their children, and we make an investment in them, and they make an investment in us. So I think but to answer your question in short, it's been a lot of work, but I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Startup Nation, I hope you're taking notes right now. Cade Joyner is sharing how he made his first $100,000 in his multi-million-dollar now business. And it looked like a lot of effort and time. I remember when I started this podcast and my other podcast as well, I had read some of the stats for podcast host, and how long does it take? Like, what am I in for? How long do I need to commit before I see success in the podcasting space? And I remember the statistic was about 3 years was the line that I needed to cross, where a podcast will gain traction and get that bigger audience. And I was like, 3 years? Wow. Do I really want to do this for 3 years? And when I finally got to the answer, yes, I do, then it was, okay, how do I create a business model around this, or even a workflow process around this, where I actually enjoy what I'm doing for 3 years, so that I don't quit, I don't give up. And I remember I started automating everything right out the gate, so that it would be stupid simple for me to continue for that long haul of 3 years that I was in for. And it worked. And it worked. So, Startup Nation, whatever you're in right now, whichever business you're doing, Cade is sharing with you, yeah, you're applying effort, but are you giving it enough time?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
It's when they both come together, right? And what is it in your industry? Like, look at the companies in your industry that have had the biggest successes. Is there a possibility for you to reach out to one of those owners or founders and ask, hey, how long did it take? What am I in for? How long? And kind of gauge it that way. Anything you want to add to that, kid?
Yeah, and I think part of it is too is, we always say learn to love the grind. Business is a grind. It is a day-to-day, one foot in front of another. And I'm a guy that likes to see big movement. I like to see the needle move. And it took me, kind of changing my perspective about the needle's not going to move every day, and it's not always going to move forward. Progression's not linear all the time, but it's learning to love processes. And like you said, making it enjoyable is so important. If you hate it, then you're not going to put your full heart in it. You're not going to be devoted to it, and you're going to go nowhere with it. But it's learning to love the grind and improving. Always constantly seek ways to get better, even if it's just a tiny little bit. It will help you in the long run if you look at it and you do it every day over the course of your career. So that'd be my only other piece of advice: is embrace the grind, don't run from it, and I think you'll see a lot better results.
I really don't want to ignore what you just brought up, and it was a secret gem, Startup Nation, that like you put in the time for sure, and you put in the processes, um, but you really just gotta you gotta have the mentorship around you. You must ask others that are have gone there before you, that are a few X's past you. Like, how do I do this? What did you do? What worked? What didn't work? And then moving the needle, here's the gem. Moving the needle sometimes will look like revenue. Sometimes it will look like new clients coming on board, or or your product gets better. You make improvements in the product, but sometimes it's hidden. Moving the needle, it's inside of you. The needle moved inside of you. You learned something through that painful experience. You grew through whatever, adversity that you're in right now. So that was a mistake I made. I only looked for moving the needle as financial gain. I
Mhm.
didn't look at the gain that was happening within me, the growth that was happening within me, as moving the needle as well. Can you
Right.
speak to that at all?
Absolutely. It's not always going to be visible, but if you can put one foot in front of another every single day, and you can consistently do that over time, you can affect change in a positive manner. But it goes back to what we talked about earlier. You've got to be committed to that. You can't be halfway committed. You can't stick your toe in the water. You got to be committed to getting better. And that's a lifestyle choice. I mean, that's in everything. And once that starts happening, you'll start looking at every area of your life. How can I be a better parent? How can I get in better shape? How can I, be a better teammate if you play sports? Or how can I be a better member of this board? I mean, it affects you in every way, and it just becomes a way to think about things. But like you said, mentors are so important. I would encourage everybody to find a mentor in your industry. You would be very surprised. People are always intimidated to want to reach up and out. But most people that have had a level of success in this country have had mentors, so they understand the process and they're willing to give of their time. I'm always, when people reach out to me, especially students with my involvement with the Board of Regents, I love having that chat because I have been there. I have been exactly where they are, and I know what has taken me. And if I could cut a little bit of time off their journey by sharing them some of my mistakes and experiences, then to me that's a great use of my time and resources.
Excellent. Let's shift the conversation just for a moment here. What I have seen is that Startup Nation, most entrepreneurs, we all struggle with marketing our business, marketing our product, marketing ourselves. Marketing seems to be the biggest issue, in my opinion. Sales is a issue for a lot of people that they just act shy about, their own confidence, etc. But marketing, getting the word out, making irresistible offers, irresistible messaging and copy that attract people. Now, you had to educate a market on a completely new product. That takes a lot to do. What are your top three tips or strategies for my listener right now to market their business, especially if they have a product that they need to educate the consumers on first before they could get the sale?
Right. Number one is research. I mean, you have to research your marketplace, and that doesn't mean talking to just end users. That means talking to everybody. What we were able to see in our space in particular, was dominated by two or three very large companies, but their service was terrible. They provided very poor customer service. So we knew a key differentiator there would be to put the customer first. And that came from research. That didn't come from, anything other than talking to hundreds of potential users. We talked to, former competitors who had sold their businesses. We talked to a lot of people before we were able to come up with those conclusions. So first of all, do the research. Two, think outside the box, creative ways to market. I was just having a conversation earlier this morning about how television advertising has become less and less effective with Netflix and some other, at home apps that people fast forward through the commercials. They don't watch it. So you've got to think of creative ways to educate your end users. So think outside of the box, Don't get stuck, riding the same old ways of marketing. What was effective, 5 years ago is not effective now. Really, what was effective 6 months ago may not be effective now. So stay on top of the trends. And the third thing would be just continually educate yourself and grow. Look for resources. Every industry and niche has resources, websites, masterminds. Get involved with those where you can bounce ideas off of each other, find mentors, and have conversations with people that actually know what's going on in your specific industry.
Excellent. There you have it, Startup Nation. Research your own product, research your industry, research your competitors, what's working for them, where are they missing the mark, where's that opportunity for you to differentiate yourself in a very big, powerful way. Number two, come up with creative ways to market. Don't use what all your competitors just did 3 months ago. It's already old news. People already have disconnected from that. So always be at the front, creative ways. And then number three, continually educate yourself and grow. Mentors are a great way to do that. I know I've had mentors just like Cade has that were always 10, 15, 20 years ahead of me in business. I was always surrounded by white hair wisdom, I call it, right? And that worked for me. That helped me early on when I was 20 and starting my business out. So I hope that works for you. Cade, I'm going to ask you to go into number two there, creative ways to market. What were one, two, or three really awesome creative ways that you marketed your shredding business?
Well, my background, my job in Washington was I wrote copy for fundraising. So I understood how the mail worked. Now, this was, mind you, 20 something years ago. So we're in a lot different environment. So, early on, we used a lot of postcard mailings, to get out there and bought really good lists. We sort of defined what a customer looked like. I think that's very important. You need an avatar of what your end user is going to look like. And we knew who we were marketing to, and we knew what we were marketing to. There's that famous Ray Kroc story about, what business are you in? I'm in real estate. I don't sell hamburgers. We're in the business with shredding of selling convenience and compliance. We're complying, helping people comply with the law, and we're helping it make it easy to comply with the law and convenient. So we had to determine those few things. So in the beginning, it was a lot of direct mail. We've done a lot more digital and face-to-face as of recently. But once you sort of kind of build that customer base and you show them a lot of love and support and do exactly what you say you're going to do over time, they come back to you. So a lot of our business currently is repeat people, even folks we did business for 10 and 15 years ago. They remember how positive that experience was. And that's what we want them to remember. People, when choosing a provider in any good or service, they often go with a path of least resistance. So if they had a good, positive experience and they remember it, I had to have a tree removed recently and had one removed 4 or 5 years ago. I called the same guy because he did a great job and his follow-up was awesome. I didn't want to go to the internet and do a Yelp search and find out. I knew John, who owned the tree service down the street, would do a great job, and I called him again. And so it's developing those relationships. There's no marketing technique that can surpass that, and that is human contact, adding value in every transaction. That's what we saw lacking. There was not a lot of value. It was very watered down from our competitors. It was very cold. And we wanted to change that. We wanted to flip that on its head, and that's what we've done. And again, like I said, they've come back and again. And then as people have moved to other jobs, they've brought us into, other businesses, and it's just fed off itself. But, you can market all day long and you can maybe get the customer to make the first purchase, but unless you fulfill that duty of good service, you're never going to hear from them again. And let me tell you guys, it is a lot cheaper to keep your current customer base than it is to find new ones.
Mm. Now, Startup Nation, Cade just gave a bonus tip and strategy, I believe, which is create the easiest path of resistance for your customer. Make sure that your product or service is the easiest way in your industry for your client, your customer to get the result that they're looking for. If you can do that, man, they're going to go with you every single time.
Absolutely.
Cade, thank you for that. That was a great insight there. All right, we're speaking with Cade Joyner. You can find him at brickwellcapital.com, brickwellcapital.com. He founded ShredX, largest, shredding company in the Southeast. This guy's a business badass. He's done it. And look, he's a humble guy. He's just like you and I, right? He's no different. If he can do it, you can do it. So keep pushing, put in the time, continue the effort. But you got to wait. You got to wait. For all my Bible folks out there, it says, wait patiently on the Lord, be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently on the Lord. It says it twice, right? And that's one of the most difficult things for us little control freaks in business to do, is to wait patiently for the results to happen. So, Cade, welcome to my favorite part of the show. Welcome to the hustle round. I'm going to ask you 10 quick fire questions. You'll have about 3 seconds to answer each. Don't overthink it. It's just for fun. Are you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
All right. What's your favorite thing about being an entrepreneur?
Controlling my own time.
Got it. What's your least favorite thing?
Time away from my family sometimes.
Yeah, got that. I believe we're all struggling with something at any given moment of our life. It's just part of being human. What are you currently struggling with right now, either professionally or personally?
How to balance raising two boys and having a wonderful wife and still being successful in business and finding ways to give back.
Yeah, balancing business and home life, right? Absolutely. What are you most afraid of?
I think ultimately it's probably letting my family down. I have had such a supportive network all along, and I just, it means the world to me to hear my dad and mom say today, "We're proud of you, son," and that means more than anything.
So good. What did you spend way too much time doing this past year?
Worrying,
About
worrying
what?
about COVID and how that was going to affect things. My wife and I had a great conversation one day in our den, and when the boys were taking a nap, and she said, you've got to look forward, and there's advantages in this, and you just got to figure it out. But the first couple of months, I was worried about my business, I was worried about my employees, I was worried about the economy, and when I stopped worrying, things got a heck of a lot better.
If you had to do this past year over again, would you have worried as much?
No way. I would have just, I wish my wife would have had that same conversation with me earlier. She's my biggest cheerleader. She's a great sounding board, and she's a very wise person. I really outkicked my coverage when I married her.
There you go. Startup Nation, there you have it. If you're worrying right now or stuck in worry, stop. It's useless. It doesn't help you. What secret fear do you have about people?
Um, about people, I'm an introvert. So I worry about, if people will notice that. And, with what I do outside of business and in business in general, engaging is such an important part of it. I've had to take that and put it to the side. And, but I will tell you this, quite honestly, I'm exhausted after a day of being out and having lunches and dinners and networking, but that's just part of it.
Yeah, I get that. What do you wish you had learned sooner in business?
To always ask for help when you need it, especially from
Mm,
people that are further ahead than you are. I think there's a lot of people that think that people won't take the time to talk with you. I've never had anybody tell me no, and furthermore, I've never told anybody no. I'm always wanting to have a conversation. I think finding those people along the way make the journey a lot better, richer, and easier.
got it. All you men out there, ask for help, darn it. You don't have it all figured out. None of us do. What's a new habit you want to create in your life?
I have really gotten into walking in the mornings. I absolutely love it, and the exercise is awesome. But it's having that time in nature, being able to breathe, being outside, getting sunshine. Man, that has been a major change. I used to go to the gym, every few days, but that walk every day when I'm able to in the rain, it's not raining, has been something that I want to do the rest of my life. It's been very transformative.
I challenge you the next time it rains, just put down the umbrella and just go out and let it fall. And it's so
Let's do it.
invigorating. It's fantastic. It reminds you of being a kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's a bad habit you want to break?
Oh man, I've consistently bitten my nails since I was a kid, and I've got to stop doing that. I'm better than I used to be with it, but I'll catch myself, especially when I get a little nervous, to go back to chewing on my nails. So I've got to do better on that.
What is that about, man? What are you
I don't
nervous
know, man.
about?
That's just one of those nervous habits, I guess.
Wow, got it. Pick 3 words to describe who you are now.
Energetic, passionate, and loving.
Nice. Pick 3 words to describe who you were your first year in your business.
Um, Tired, um, unsettled, and probably a little agitated.
Yeah, got it. And last question. If you could come back to life, Cade, after you died, look your family and friends, your wife, your 2 boys in the eye, and give them only one piece of advice about everything, about life, what would you say to them?
Be true to who you are, love your family, and take chances in life.
Man, so clear and concise. Well done. Any final wisdom? What's the one thing you want my listener to know about making their first 100K this year?
there are probably people out there who are sitting on the fence who wonder what if. Take a chance, take a measured risk, move forward, work on self-improvement, get better, surround yourself with positive people. I can't tell you enough. Positive people and mentors is the secret to moving ahead in business. Be around people that you want to emulate. But somebody always once told me, never take advice from anybody you wouldn't want to trade places with. And I think I've done that in business. I've gotten advice from plenty of people I would trade places with. So that's what I'll leave you with.
Fantastic. And what's the best way for Startup Nation to get in touch with you, with what you're up to? What do you got for them?
Yeah, great. Well, I'm on LinkedIn. It's just Cade Joyner. I think I'm the only Cade Joyner in the United States, so it should be pretty easy to find. Brookwellcapital.com. I've got a great experience with a mentor of mine, Billy Lovett, who's been in the lending business for 40 plus years. We do bridge loans to small businesses between $1 to $10 million. We also work with a group that does SBA and USDA loans. So we both have built businesses. We know what it's like to be in a crunch when you're growing really quickly. And we like to add value from a perspective of how can we help you with your business. Either it's through relationships or mentoring, but it's a dream job for me. I've enjoyed working with Billy. We've got another partner down in Valdosta, Georgia, who's a venture capitalist named Trey Taylor, and getting to go to work with those guys is a lot of fun. So yeah, that's the easiest way. We'd love to help add value. And if it's something we can't do, we'll definitely point you in the right direction. We try to do that with everyone we speak with.
So, real quick, are you still investing in small businesses right now during COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of great sites out there that allow for small investments, that allow for revenue share. There was a slowdown, of course, with the federal money that came in for small business needs, but it's back. There's always going to be needs for equipment. There's always going to be needs for growth capital, and dealing with some of these federal projects like USDA or SBA loans can be slow, and we know that. And we've got people that want to help you with bridge loans to get you there till you can get a USDA or an SBA loan. So yes, absolutely. We never really slowed down with that. We saw it as a good opportunity for some sectors and have continued making investments there.
Startup Nation, if you need that extra capital right now just to buy you more time, more growth, go to brookwellcapital.com. If you like Cade and you really resonated with his message, reach out to him. You can find him at Cade Joyner on LinkedIn. And Cade Joyner, thank you for being on your first 100K podcast. I wish you God's love, peace, and joy in your life, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Cheers.
All right. Thank you, sir. I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, right? Good times, man.
Yeah. And will you send me everything so I can get it out on social before it comes out?
For sure. So I'll send out an email to you, and this show goes live this Friday. So
oh, wow.
very,
really
very
soon.
fast turn. Yeah.
You're efficient, my friend.
I've automated my life, dude. I work 3 hours a week on two top podcasts. So that's
wow, that is insane, man. That's all.
That,
Congratulations. That
thanks,
took a
brother.
lot of work on the front end.
It did, right? And that's because I'm naturally a lazy person, so I want to go back to laziness as soon as possible. So it's awesome because in my business coaching right here, Blow Up Rocks, I get to help a lot of successful business owners get their time back because
right.
Many of them, they're killing it, right? They're making high 7-8 figures, and but like they're workaholics, and and like you said, like they're constantly struggling inside with like how much time they're spending in the office versus with their wife and boys, and it's like, man, what good is the money if you're stealing from what matters most?
That's right.
Right.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Well,
Yeah.
well, hopefully we've affected some change today, and appreciate the opportunity. Look, if you're ever in Atlanta, or if there's ever anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, for sure. So what are you working on right now? What are some goals that maybe I can help or make an introduction or give an idea or something like that, create a new
I tell you what I
possibility?
really enjoy is just getting together with really smart entrepreneurs and just whiteboarding and kicking around ideas. And, I do that every week. I mean, with the way I've kind of automated my business too. So I'm not that involved at all anymore. I'm really probably 1 or 2 days a month at the most now. And so I spend my time just going out and connecting with folks and, looking for opportunities. I mean, we've got the income portion of it, kind of settled. My wife's got a wonderful job and career, and I've got a lot of investments that pay me regardless of where I am in the world. So just meeting great folks that we can add value. And I don't do Brookwell Capital more is to, the money's fine, but it's more just to connect with people. And I enjoy really helping people get where they need to go from a business perspective. It's not just that they need $2 or $3 million to buy a piece of equipment. They may need help from the relationship standpoint, getting in front of the right people. They may need help from a guidance standpoint. They may need help from a board standpoint. And my partner, who is just an amazing human being, he's lived that his entire life. He's 76 years old, and he is. I'll tell you a quick story before you go. When I first started working with him a couple of years ago, we were in a big high rise in downtown Atlanta, and we're getting on an elevator, and this lady screams and she says, "Mr. Lovett, Mr. Lovett, hang on, hang on." And we're sitting there, we stop the elevator, and she comes up and she gives him this huge hug. And she's like, "Thank you so much for helping my daughter. You transformed my life." And he said, "Oh, you're welcome." He's very gracious. He said, "Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome." And we get on the elevator and she walks off. And I said, "Billy, what did you do for her daughter?" He goes, "I'll be honest with you, I really don't know." I said, "Man," I said, "what a life you have led, that you could make a transformative change, that a woman comes running across to give you a hug and you don't even know what you did for her." And that to me modeled I knew immediately that he was the right guy for me to be working with. So
that's so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Anything I could do, like specifically though, like to help you, to accelerate you and your
I'll tell you what,
goals, your
are you on
dreams?
LinkedIn?
I am.
Yeah, let's connect there. If there's ever anybody that pops up, I may message you and say, "Do you know this person?" And I tend to check people out when I do business with them ahead of time and get people's opinions. So
For
that's
sure.
definitely something you could help me with. Get a lot. I'm sure, like you have a lot of people reaching out, and I want to do business with people who share the same values I share. And
Yeah.
we got a no jerk policy at Brookwell, and we like to do business with good people. We know on the front end, if we do the due diligence, it prevents a lot of problems on the back end. So that's always something you can help me with. If I get reached out to by somebody that you're connected with, and you may not know them either, but it's always good to kind of do due diligence. I know that's something I could, ask you for in the future. So
I'd be happy to help with that for
we
sure.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have 2 minutes before we jump off here to
Yeah.
brainstorm with me?
Sure.
Who else do you know that would be a great guest for this show?
Yeah, Trey Taylor would be great. He's our third partner.
You
Trey
did an
is,
intro already, right? Via
yeah.
email? Okay,
Yeah, I
and
did. I sent to
I'll
you.
send out the link to him.
Yeah, he wrote a book, his travels. He's got an incredible story. Took over a family business after being a successful venture capitalist, moved to rural Georgia after living in Atlanta, traveling the world. Great story, amazing speaker. Yeah, he would be excellent. He does
Excellent.
routinely does a lot of podcasts, so he's very experienced as a guest. I'm trying to
Who
think
else?
who else. In our network, Tommy, you already had Tommy on, obviously.
I have had Tommy. Yeah, he was good.
I would definitely get Trey on. He's the kind of guy, he's in probably 4 or 5 mastermind groups that, he deals with a lot of like-minded individuals. He'd be good.
What about your mentor buddy, the
I don't know if
airport
he would
lady?
do it. He is I thought about that, but he is so adverse when it comes to technology. I mean, he is very, very set in his ways.
So what if you just set him up? You'd be like,
I'll
"Hey,
ask him.
we'll do it right here in the office. Let's
I'll
go."
ask him this afternoon and see what he thinks about it. I don't even think he may not. He's so old school. He may not even know what a podcast is. I mean,
He doesn't need to know. Just be like, "Hey, it's a radio show."
Yeah,
We're gonna do a radio show. I'll set it up on my
ask him.
laptop in the conference room, and you just talk.
I remember we had to convince him. There were some investors that wanted to do a Zoom call, and this was in like April. We're like, "You have to go. I want to talk on the phone. You have to do Zoom. Like that's what people are doing, man." But anyway, yeah, I'd start with Trey. And let me think on it. I've got a ton of friends that would be good.
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
need to think. But I know Trey is readily participating in that space since he has a book out.
Well, come up with maybe 5 or 6 or 10 names or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
I'll go through LinkedIn.
Yeah, just do a quick email introduction like you did with Trey. You could just copy and paste that, and I'll just take it from there.
Yeah, easy enough. Be glad to do that for you.
Yeah, because we'll bless those people with some visibility for what they're up to in the world as well. The same way Tommy did for you,
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Let me spend some time thinking on that this afternoon, and I'll come up with a few more for sure.
Awesome. And then I'm last thing here, right? And I'm just gonna ask because 1, I like you. 2, I see what you're up to, and 3, you shared some stuff, some real stuff, and I really appreciate that. That takes courage to share that publicly on a show. The nail biting, the balance of business and your wife and boys, and yeah, I mean that's for real right there. I don't know if you know what I do, outside of here, but this is what I do, right? Blow up rocks. So what I do is I help Christian men, right? High 7, 8 figure Christian men blow up the rocks in their life that are standing between them and true success. So it could be that rock standing between them and their wife that's blocking the intimacy that they're craving. We blow that thing up. It could be the pile of rocks that fall out of their mouth every time they're trying to communicate with their teenage boys or whatever, and they just have no idea what you're talking about. Or it could be the rocks in their head from past hurts and traumas from childhood that somehow constantly sabotage their adult life. All these rocks, there's so many rocks of depression, we blow those up, rocks of anxiety, rocks of workaholism, addictions, gone, porn addictions, all of them. So that's what I do. I help men blow up those rocks so that they have a whole and complete fulfilling life, not just the money part, not just the work part. And the goal is they die with zero regrets. That's what we're going for. So I don't know if that resonates with you in any way, and if it does, I'd love to invite you to just jump on a call with me, 20, 30 minutes, complimentary, just to see if what I'm up to resonates with you in any way, whether it's a fit for you or a fit for some of the guys that that you're surrounded by in some of these masterminds where they're killing it in their business, but you see like areas of their life where you're like, man, I wish he could get freedom in this or with his wife or whatever. Does that resonate at all? Is that something you'd
Yeah, I
like
mean,
to do?
I'd be glad to help refer you to folks. I have a coach right now, currently, that I've had for the last 5 years that I work with here in Atlanta. It's a female, but we have tackled a lot of that stuff through hypnotherapy. I don't know if if you're super familiar with that or not, but
I am.
so I've dealt with a lot of that stuff head on. Yeah, I'm glad to listen to more about it, and certainly would be glad to make recommendations to you for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And yeah, I will send you the email to the show, and then I'll send you a separate email just inviting you to book a time in my
Okay,
personal
perfect.
calendar. Obviously, I don't charge for that, so it would just be me contributing to your life, telling you more about how I do it, what I do, and then we could just kind of like brainstorm what guys could you really just bless in their lives where maybe they're stuck somewhere, and
Sure,
everybody's trying to help them. They're trying to help themselves, and they just can't get free.
absolutely. I
That's my
love that.
specialty.
Okay,
Okay,
that
brother.
sounds great. Well, I'll be on the lookout for your email, and I'll spend some time this afternoon. I'll just go ahead and make the introductions if that's easy enough for you. We'll just cut the middleman out and then send you a few of those that would be good, and I'll let you take it from there.
That's awesome. Cade, thanks so much. You did a
Hey,
great
thank you.
job on this show. I really believe that one life is going to get transformed through the
I
conversation
certainly
we
hope
just
so,
had.
and I hope if you hear from them, you'll let me know later.
You got it, brother, for
Thank
sure.
you, man. Great
All
chatting.
right.
See
God
ya.
bless you. Bye
All right, you
bye.
too, buddy. Bye.